9 hikers flee their tent barefoot into -40-degree Siberian snow. Some are found with broken bones, others glowing with radiation. To this day, no one knows why. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Under the leadership of Igor Dyatlov, the team of hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute was last observed on January 27, 1959. They set off from Vijay, the final inhabited outpost to the north. Their initial goal was to ascend another peak, Autopsies, in order to earn an advanced Grade 3 hiking certification. The journey would cover a 190-mile trek through rugged mountainous landscapes, with temperatures plummeting to as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Each of the hikers had extensive technical hiking experience and held Grade 2 certifications. Dyatlov's group pledged to send a communication upon returning to Vijay, which was scheduled for February 12th. When the message failed to arrive on time, it was presumed they had merely faced an unforeseen setback. By the time there was still no communication by February 20th, relatives began to suspect the worst. The Ural Polytechnical Institute organized a volunteer rescue mission, which was unsuccessful in locating the missing hikers. Eventually, military forces were brought in for support. The hazardous search effort was hindered by the mountainous terrain and harsh winter conditions. It took nearly a month for search teams to come across their deserted campsite on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, far from the group's planned route. Mikhail Sharavan, who first made the discovery, described finding the tents partially collapsed and blanketed with snow. It was deserted, and all of the team's possessions and footwear had been abandoned. The fabric seemed to have been slashed from within. 9 tracks were also identified in the snow, mostly from bare feet. These footprints led toward the nearby forest almost a mile away, but the latter part of the trail seemed intentionally obscured by snow. Not far off, the team members located in the vicinity were largely without shoes and clad only in undergarments and sleepwear. 2 were found near the remnants of a fire. 3 others, including Dyatlov, were discovered within half a mile, frozen in postures that suggested they had been trying to return to the tent. The remaining 4 members would remain missing for several months until the spring thaw facilitated the search. Investigators eventually located them grouped together in a ravine concealed under 13 feet of snow. Strangely, they were all dressed in clothing previously worn by others. Compounding the enigma, the garments contained elevated levels of radiation. Certain accounts indicated that the radiation bore signs of potassium-40, an isotope found in nature, but rarely in such substantial amounts. An autopsy of the first 5 individuals found near the tent led to the straightforward conclusion that they succumbed to hypothermia brought on by exposure. Examinations of the final 4, however, posed more puzzles than answers. One had a fractured skull, while 2 others exhibited severe chest trauma. These injuries were peculiar, as none displayed external wounds, implying that the trauma likely resulted from a form of immense pressure. The coroner stated that the force involved was comparable to that of a car collision. Officials reportedly discovered no indication of other people, animals, or beings being present at or around the site. Owing to this lack of evidence or any identifiable suspect, the inquiry concluded that the team members had all encountered some powerful natural phenomenon. All documentation and photographs tied to the probe were dispatched to a confidential Soviet archive. Public access to the region, later named Dyatlov Pass in honor of the group's leader, was prohibited for years. Although the group's demise is cloaked in mystery, journals and cameras retrieved from the site reveal that, until February 1st, the expedition had been proceeding as planned. The day before, the hikers had established camp, cooked sufficient food, and prepared their gear for the upcoming climb. On the following day, they aimed to cross a mountain pass, but a sudden snowstorm diverted them off course, inadvertently guiding them toward Kholat Syakhl. By the time Dyatlov recognized the error, it was too late, and they opted to make the Mountain of Death their campsite for the evening. Judging by the condition of the campsite, investigators theorized that sometime in the night, an unknown event startled the group and prompted them to flee so abruptly that they cut their way out of the tent and left without proper clothing. Of the plausible natural explanations proposed, an avalanche is among the most likely. Considering the snow accumulation and the campsite's condition, It's believed the group may have perceived an approaching avalanche and sliced through the tent to escape. However, later visits to the site by other expeditions did not uncover avalanche-prone conditions, and the tree line beneath the site was unaffected. Further terrain analysis suggests that had an avalanche occurred, its path would have bypassed the campsite entirely. Another hypothesis suggests the hikers were attacked, either by wild animals or by individuals from the indigenous Mansi community. While this scenario might seem reasonable at first, it has been largely discounted due to the lack of footprints or tracks in the snow beyond those belonging to Dyatlov's team. The amount of force needed to inflict the injuries observed also exceeds the capabilities of any documented animal. Some cryptozoological theories propose that a mink, or Russian yeti, might have been involved, although no physical proof has ever confirmed eyewitness accounts of a large humanoid in the Urals. An even more extraordinary theory involves top-secret Soviet military weapon experiments or the presence of alien life. After the Soviet Union's collapse in 1990, Lev Ivanov, the officer who oversaw the official investigation, gave a remarkable interview in which he confessed that the Dyatlov Pass team lacked any logical explanation for what occurred and that he had prematurely closed the case on orders from superiors. Declassified materials revealed that another group of hikers south of Dyatlov's team reported strange orange orbs in the sky over Kholat Syakhl on the night of February 1st. Other unrelated witnesses claimed to have seen similar lights in the sky during the winter of 1959. Ivanov said he was directed by high-level officials to disregard all such accounts, and he now believes the spheres were directly connected to what befell the group. Some speculate that the lights were alien spacecraft, and their appearance might have caused the hikers to abandon their tent in panic. One of the final photos captured on a recovered camera may show a bright flash in the sky, thought by some to support UFO sightings, though others argue it was simply overexposure. Still more believe the orange glowing orbs seen hovering above the Ural Mountains were part of a classified Cold War Soviet experiment, and the hikers were unintended casualties. This theory is supported by Yuri Yudin, a member of the group who did not make the journey, who cited the radioactive contamination and how his companions appeared to have an unnatural brown skin tone. Yudin theorized that the group witnessed some kind of explosion that exposed them to radiation and caused them to flee in terror. He recalled that special containers of evidence were transported to military officials for radiological analysis, possibly to help state scientists study the effects of exposure. This idea gained traction in 2008 when fragments of metal debris were discovered near the pass, believed to be from an aircraft or an experimental weapon. In recent years, 37 independent specialists gathered to assess the case and concluded that the military had been conducting tests in the region. So what was the unknown threat the hikers feared so greatly that they were willing to leave their warm sleeping bags behind and face sub-zero temperatures in their underclothes? What was the so-called powerful natural phenomenon behind the deaths of 9 fit, experienced trekkers? Why was their clothing contaminated with radiation? And why did the Soviet regime suppress the investigation's documents and block access to the pass for years? Although countless theories have emerged over time to explain the Dyatlov Pass tragedy, none seem to fully resolve the lingering mysteries. Fittingly, for one of the most remarkable unsolved enigmas of the Soviet era. For now, it seems we remain in the shadows of the unknown,